journey into sound.
Halu Pikanariaka. That's right. For those of you there that speak Inuktitut, you know what this means. It means hello friends. And while before we have introduced ourselves with Sautona Mikoi to be inclusive to everyone in the EU bubble on their path to become the next commission and/or member of the European Parliament, today I wanted to give a little twist, It's good to have a little twist today, and we have quite a guest with us that is joining for this month's episode of The Young Bureaucrat in Brussels. I'm very, very happy and very excited to receive here with us today Ilaria Finch. So Ilaria, she has been into the theory of attachment and very interested in how human relations are relative to each other, how we connect with each other, and perhaps not even each other, perhaps a bit more broad. And I understand that you have a master's in psychology, right?
Well, first of all, thanks a lot for having me here. Well, actually, no, I don't really have a master. My knowledge is purely based on YouTube videos, because nowadays I don't really think you need a master, right? To have your knowledge recognized. So I guess that this is sufficient to qualify yourself as an expert somehow. So.
Yeah, we see that increasingly more when people talk about climate change, for example. I think you see how there is a broad range of facts, some facts more valid than other facts, right?
Yeah, I don't see why you should actually base your knowledge on, something like a master degree or a bachelor or whatever more scientific. I think that if you just get your knowledge, whatever, in the internet, that's enough to be considered, again, an expert. So, yeah, definitely.
But also, shouldn't forget, the internet has different corners, right? One thing is to get it from, very important and very, because if you talk about who are the best people on the internet, are people that have money, important people. If you get a knowledge from a social network from Elon Musk or from Donald Trump, that's one thing. But if you read in a woke, biased journal like The Guardian, is something else.
Yeah, you just can't compare the two things. You have seen Musk, for instance, what he has done with Trump, so this is an obvious, proof that the more money you have, the more capitalistic is the society we live in, the more it works.
And the more knowledge.
Yeah, indeed. And the more you can trust it, the more you can trust the source as well, So I think, that makes a lot of sense. Definitely.
You think that people nowadays, since we're talking about psychology at first and now about knowledge, that people nowadays, there's this idea of not trusting science, right? And the idea of that people have this syndrome, perhaps a big word here, but that people have this tendency to not adapt their opinions to the facts, but instead facts to their opinions. So if you believe in something and science says it's this instead, you will say, it's because that study is not valid, or it's because science is not true about this. Do you see that? How do you see that coming into society? And do you think, how do you see the way forward from this?
Well, that's a good question, because, it basically means that you can justify whatever is in your mind somehow, no matter what is an argument and the topic outside, if it's outside of my way of reasoning, of my approach, of my way of perceiving things, if it doesn't match, I can still find a way to justify it, so I think that this can be very dangerous somehow, right?
Okay. Well, it can be very dangerous, but also in another way, it can give votes.
Yes, definitely. If we talk from a political standpoint, yes. But this is the kind of reasoning that you can apply to whatever in life. No, it's not exclusively in politics, I guess.
Yeah, no, of course.
It's just a matter of how much you are convinced of your own opinions, I guess, and how good you are to convince other people, despite all the alternative opinions that you can have outside of your theory, for instance, right?
Yeah, I think it's the idea of talking about alternative facts.
Yeah.
Some people have alternative facts that, for example, climate change is real, while other people have the real facts that it's not real.
Yeah, indeed. So, it's difficult to convince the people who think that this is real, that is not really the case. Of course, you just have to find your way to dismantle all those so-called like scientists and people that think that this is real knowledge based on real fact, and just try to show the evidence to these other people.
In short, the people that got their knowledge from master degrees and not from
Yeah,
YouTube.
exactly. Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's the thing.
Yeah.
So I guess that this is a way to say that you can maybe trust more a person who, like me, who got her knowledge from YouTube and whatever, than a person with an actual master degree, I guess, right? So
Yeah, I mean,
that makes total sense.
I am someone with a master's degree,
And-
I actually,
Yeah.
but sometimes when I'm missing toilet paper,
You go,
know,
yeah, and you go to YouTube, right? If you don't have a piece of knowledge. So this is the proof that even though you have a master degree, you still go to YouTube. So this is still a more trustable source to get your knowledge, I guess.
yeah, it's like the master's degree is like your fishing rod,
Yeah.
and the YouTube is like the submarine
Yeah,
that will come to
indeed.
gather all
Yeah.
the fish.
You know, like also the iceberg theory, you know, like you have all the knowledge in the surface, and this is what other people see. But then below the water, there is like YouTube, basically. So all the knowledge
Yeah.
that is there and that you get from there. So that's absolutely a pillar of whatever knowledge you want to have in life.
Plus, for some reason in London they call tube to the metro, which is under.
Okay. Ah, you see?
It's
Did
not a
you watch a YouTube video about this? How did you know about this thing?
I just got that thought from my mind now in a very because you know when you work in the bubble, but you know it already.
Yeah.
Like we know that like people in the bubble have a specific like type of
Yeah, I guess
class,
so.
you know, in their brain, right? Because I heard that in a practice you have a lot of people working in the EU institution.
Yeah. I mean, I'm acquainted to them, definitely. Yeah. I guess they watch YouTube videos as well. I hope so. So.
Yeah. Otherwise, how are we gonna
Yeah.
get knowledge?
Yeah,
Right?
you're right. Yeah. What
From
about-
those networking events.
No, I don't think so. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, then
So-
I think this is a good segue for us to proceed, because so you specialize in attachment, right? In attachment theory, and as mentioned, you work with people from the institutions. Like, how do you trace like I don't know, like maybe you can talk about a profile, right? So how do you think like people in, of course you won't mention names obviously because you have a discretion between a accredited professional like you and our esteemed EU functionaries.
Yeah.
But how would you like do you want to tell us a bit about like what you see every day in your practice, how people like interact, like perhaps even your a broad opinion you might have about some particular sectors of your sample?
Yeah. So I try basically to understand by talking to people what is their attachment style. So basically how the relationship with the people around them it's built. So this is something that is usually like attributed to romantic relationships, but it's not only the case, because like attachment theory encompasses all aspects of the relationships that we human have. So you can have a secure attachment style, and then you have 3 other kinds of insecure attachment style, which is the anxious, the dismissive avoidant, and then the fearful avoidant. And so I'm trying to see how this applies to these people in their work relationships a lot, for instance, and it's very fascinating to see how the personality of the different personalities of the people is so much connected to the way they grew up when you were younger. For instance, I hear a lot of stories of like how these people grew up.
Yeah.
And from there I can understand what their attachment is, and from there you can understand a lot of the person, like how he or she they relate with the people around them, with their colleagues, again with the romantic partners, and all of that. And I think it's very fascinating, but I also think that there's a significant lack of knowledge on the topic.
Okay.
So many people are not really aware of this because maybe they didn't watch YouTube videos on the topic, so they're not really familiar. But I think that this might be something that, for instance, in Europe we might consider, like giving a little bit more of basics on this topic to everyone at schools, for instance. Like this is a science somehow, is the science of love. So as we study a lot of different sciences at school, at university, we even have political science, So maybe we might even have this new subject at school in which European pupils can start to get a little bit more acquainted with this topic and more familiar, more able then to manage their own emotions somehow, which might help again in the workplace or in any kind of personal relationship in your life.
Okay, thank you. That's very interesting. Just to say that about not watching enough YouTube videos is that sometimes, as you know, people working in institutions are very badly paid, and you may not have enough money to have YouTube Premium.
Okay.
So it can be a bit annoying that like you're watching about attachment style, and then suddenly you have an ad about how Argenta is the best bank in Belgium.
You're right. I didn't think about it. Yeah, sorry. I'm outside of it. So
yeah, you know, so it's a bit. I know it's easy to talk about to talk these things about lightly, but I think you know there's this dimension that I know. Of course, it's what we do in this podcast, right?
Yeah, right.
And then other thing that from what you mentioned, I seem to it's ringing me a bell that maybe we should have a love Erasmus, right?
Wow.
Where people go, like, I mean, we know that nowadays in Erasmus people go to study very hard, to do their courses. They barely have time to go out and to meet new people, or they barely have time to go like to a house party where everybody ends up naked at 3 a.m. These things don't really happen nowadays in our Erasmus experience. Ours, I mean, my Erasmus obviously was done in Oulu in Finland, the northest possible in Europe, so that I could be away from every type of like temptation and focus extremely
on your studies,
in my studies, right?
Yeah.
As all of us do, I suppose.
Yeah.
So what if you do a love Erasmus? Like people nowadays, they would go to like to a university, right?
Yeah.
But the experience would consist in like in the morning, so you have a class about love, right? So you do like blind dates, you do 1 minute dates, then the practice could be, for example, in Brussels, the practical could be you go together in a street, and if you see a rat, you see if you protect your partner, if your partner protects you, because it's a type of attachment as well, right?
Of course.
I think maybe there is a line here to explore, no?
I think it's a great idea, honestly, and I think that this could help like in two ways to tackle the issue that we don't explore this topic enough in our schools, because it will mean that like students will get more acquainted with the topic already, like in their own culture, but they will also be exposed to the differences in a different environment, in a different culture. So you had an experience in Finland, so I'm sure that somebody in Finland from the south of Europe, for instance, will have a completely new perception of what is attachment than, I don't know, the other way around, a person from the north of Italy going to Erasmus in the south of Italy, or of Europe, I mean, or somebody from the east of Europe going to Spain, for instance, I don't know. So it might really help to I mean, it could be very difficult also. I see a lot of it could be a cultural shock, a real cultural shock, I think, but definitely like the value from this experience might be very significant, I believe. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And continuing, diverging a bit of that and going back from what we said before, so about different attachment styles, I would like to have some concrete examples.
Yeah.
For example, which attachment style would you call when an MEP is doing a massage to their APA in the office?
Whoa. Okay. That might be either a secure attachment style, because it means that the person is really secure of him or herself, so they feel like that they have the power to do that. Or it might be a sort of a fearful avoidant attachment style, I'd say, because it's a little bit one of the mix in between an anxious and a dismissive one, in which they would like to have like some sort of connection, but they don't really trust the connection. So like this thing of the massage is very peculiar. So
and it's something that rarely happens, right?
Yeah, so right. So
reps don't have enough.
Yeah, but it could be definitely something to explore, I think. Yeah.
What about, for example, the president of the council tells you that if you don't go and buy them cigarettes in 5 minutes in a Carrefour next by, you're fired. What do you characterize this?
Yeah, that's definitely a secure attachment style, honestly, because the person, I mean, is aware of his emotions, like of his feelings, of what they want. So they're like, yeah, I'm going for this and I'm gonna get it, you know.
It's a go-getter type
yeah,
of
yeah, sort of. Well, actually, yeah. A secure attachment style is what we should all aim for, you know, to get like this being sure of your feelings and know how to approach to other people. So this sound to me as somebody very, very sure of what they feel, what they want.
Okay.
Very.
And then just one third
example.
last example before I have something here also I want to ask you. How do you characterize the relationship between someone being an intérimaire for 2 years, hearing every month we're gonna offer you a contract very soon, and the HR person from that DG?
So that is, I'd say, 100%. Well, it can be an anxious, because the characteristic of the anxious is that the inconsistency is the problem, you know, like they grew up in an environment which is very inconsistent.
Okay.
So definitely in this situation, well, you know that there's a lot of inconsistency because you never know what you can get, you know. But this is also something that, again, fearful avoidant feels a lot. So I would say more anxious in general because this situation generates a lot of anxiety. So because you see the inconsistency on the other side, like you don't know, one day is gonna be I'm gonna give you a contract, and the other day is gonna be no, not really.
Yeah.
So
it can be a bit of a
roller coaster, definitely. Yeah. So
okay.
That was a good example.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a very rare example. I know it doesn't really happen often, but I thought that maybe we could make it appear because, of course, this is a podcast that should apply for every different kind of situation.
Yeah, right.
And I think that's really why we have around 8,000 listeners to this podcast.
Yeah, right. Hi, guys.
Then the final question is: I wanted to comment in this study. I don't know if you are aware of it. So. This is a study published in Sage Journals from Antigonos Sokos. I would suppose is a Greek author. It's funny because we don't really get in touch with a lot of Greeks here in the EU bubble.
Right.
But sometimes, sometimes it's nice to hear the point of view of what
Greek,
they say because I can spend months and months here going to Plux, for example, to Place Luxembourg for those listeners that like to call things from, but I'm trying to use a more young people, let's say around 45-year-old friendly language. So this kind sir published a study entitled, and I am quoting, "The European Union as an object of insecure collective attachment, a response to Brexit, who is afraid of group attachment, Part 1, Europe, What Europe, by Arturo Esquerro." Okay, this by here is a bit confusing. So perhaps it's from both of these sirs, Arturo Esquerro and Antigonos Sokos, but in the end, doesn't matter the messenger, it matters the message, right? Do you have anything to comment? The study in the abstract, it seems to say that we have an insecure collective bond with the EU. What do you comment on this?
So I heard about this study. I have to say that I didn't read it because I actually looked up for a YouTube video about it, but I didn't find it.
As
and
one
then
should do.
So I'm not really sure we can trust, but let's give it a try. No, I found it super interesting from the abstract. Because it really made me think of how embedded this whole attachment theory is on all of us, you know. So as I said before, it is something that reflects in our relationship, particularly with romantic partners, but with all friends, family, colleagues, and whatever. But here in this article, what the author is saying, I think, again, I haven't read it, so I don't know, but that it's something that you can even have towards the EU, for instance, or towards a political entity anyway.
Yeah.
So I found it super interesting, and the fact that you have a relationship with this subject that in this case in the article is the EU, and you have we all think of having again an economic relationship with the EU somehow, let's say, but we also have this real feeling of trust somehow, and whatever the EU does, inevitably this has an impact on our safety, on our feeling of being secure or not secure. So it's definitely something that you can connect to attachment theories, and that I definitely would like to explore more. Yeah.
The angle I would see here is that because, as we've discussed already in this podcast, the EU being the moral compass, the center
Yeah.
of every single opinion that we might have about, well, anything in general, right? But about politics in particular, about the system. So the you being in the exact center point, nobody else can be in the exact center point, right? Because it's impossible to be in the center. All of our human beings, and the you is the center because the you is the exact median of every national, every citizen, because every voice matters the same.
Yeah.
Every lobby group, every NGO have the same influence, so you have this center point. And because none of us are also there, because we have our own biases, we're all imperfect in a perfect union, then all of us will feel insecure, that insecure as in I'm not exactly the same, so I have insecurities that I am not to the level of, or maybe the opinions of the you don't always align with my opinion precisely, or well, it's more the other way around. My opinion doesn't align with the facts of the you, not every time, for different reasons. After all, we are 450 million people, so it would be impossible. I think the secure would come from that. What would you say?
Yeah, I find it very interesting because I think that at this point what will be important is that the you starts asking itself as an entity, okay, so what should I do to make my citizens feel secure, you know? And this means that I might take, for instance, an economic decision that might have a negative impact to some people, which of course, as you said, we are 450 million people, so of course, like an economic decision cannot have a good impact on every single person. This is extremely rare, almost impossible. So what the EU might be willing to do at that point is to be that figure that tries to reassure its citizens, even those that might be impacted negatively by this policy, this decision, whatever it is, without making them feel as they're doing something wrong. Because this is exactly a little bit what it's connected to attachment, you know, like the fact that, for instance, if you have an insecure attachment style, most likely it's because at one point your mother or father or whoever was taking care of you, is not necessarily your parents, of course, made something that made you feel unsafe or unsecure of yourself. And actually what happens is it's incredible because your own body, your own mind said, okay, I need to cope with this. I need a strategy to cope with this. And this is how you become somehow insecure, like trying to protect yourself. So to try to avoid that these insecurities caused, what the EU should do is to be sure to don't feel these people unsafe or wrong, which might be even worse. And just to be sure to be somehow inclusive and to feel all the people okay. Like we are all in this together somehow, you know, because we are all part of the same union. And we have to try to find a way that everybody feel secure among the...
Do you think that, I hope I didn't interrupt you?
No, it's okay. Thanks.
Do you think that if we started to institutionalize reading bedtime stories about the biography of Jean Monnet, this feeling would help? If kids would go to bed hearing about, and Jean Monnet said, oh, this is so nice. Oh,
yeah, that's another great idea, right? Yeah, that could be an option. Because
you said about creating a sense of security, right? Creating a sense of like fraternity. Perhaps if we also read, for example, a story about how Robert Schuman one day went to buy a marshmallow ice cream and then thought, what if we do a European Union out of this? Perhaps this could create...
Yeah, maybe more than that, we should start with what we can actually do concretely to make, feel people more safer, economically especially. But...
What else can we do more concretely?
Yeah, bedtime stories is a great idea, definitely. But maybe we can start with bedtime stories about attachment theory, so people start to know what it is, and then from there they can connect to the EU and.
Okay, I think that's a good note to end. But you think a bedtime story itself or a YouTube video?
Well, yeah, I mean, you can't compare a YouTube video with anything else, so definitely a YouTube video, yeah, surely.
Perhaps you could offer like these mini iPads to every baby that's
definitely
born, you know?
As soon as they're born, first thing you give one of those, and you just put a YouTube channel and
you only have YouTube installed. And or audiobooks of bedtime stories about Robert Schuman.
No. It's better actually a YouTube video, because in this way you can watch.
Oh, okay.
So your eyes get really, especially before going to bed. That's a better idea, I think.
Okay,
So we have to be sure to get this YouTube channel to all people working in institutions as well, as before you said that not
Yeah.
all of them have access, I think,
YouTube
right?
Premium, yeah.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
good thing that the EU is cracking down on those bad guys from Google, right?
Yeah, right. So yeah, it's true.
Yeah, see, and I would say that is already part of trying to be more,
Yeah,
be more
to
secure.
feel more safe.
To
Yeah,
tell people,
yeah.
don't worry, we are cracking on Google for like unfair competition.
Yeah.
And I mean, the way I interpret this is we're gonna give all of you iPads to have YouTube videos about
Yeah,
the
right.
theory.
Yeah, good. This was productive. Thanks.
Yeah, right. Thank you very much for coming. This is this month's episode. I am the young bureaucrat in Brussels. Thank you all for being over there. And don't forget, after today, you're just one step closer. And
This is a journey into sound.